Hello, my beautiful friends. Krysten Jansen here, online fitness coach from the Natty Hour. Thank you guys so much for tuning back into my channel. Today, we're gonna talk about 5 ways to grow that booty. Roll that intro.
I've been doing things that they told me I should never do. I've been doing things that they told me I could never do now. Never do, I could never do. I've been looking back and I'm the only one who ever knew. My dreams began to turn out.
I've been meaning to make a video about this for a long time now. This is probably one of the most common questions that I get personally is how the heck do you grow your glutes? And the reason I think I get this question a lot is because I didn't have glutes when I first started my fitness journey. I do post transformation pictures quite often on my Instagram page. And that's when I typically get the questions, man, like you had no glutes when you first started, now your glutes are pretty big. Like when I first started, I think my glutes, when I measured them, were about 27 inches. And now I measured my glutes this morning and they're 39.5 inches. So I've put a lot of effort into growing my glutes. I thought I'd make a video, share with you guys what has worked for me. I've also implemented this with a bunch of my clients and they've seen amazing results as well. So let's get into it. Today, I just want to discuss 5 exercises that I strongly believe are huge contributors to growing your glutes. Exercise number 1, and I'm shocked to see that this still surprises a lot of people. Most people think that it is squats, and actually no, squats, they are still very good for your glutes, but they do contribute much more to your quads. So in regards to growing your glutes, I actually don't recommend squats as one of the main exercises that contribute to growing your glutes. So the first exercise is actually barbell hip thrusts. Now there are a bunch of different variations that you can do for these, but barbell hip thrusts allow you to actually lift heavier over time. It does allow you to increase optimal activation because you get a better range of motion versus other variations. So if you're gonna do any type of hip thrust, I do recommend that you actually set them up and do barbell hip thrusts. As you will see with this exercise here, you will see that I'm not using an actual bench. If you're a little bit taller, then you could get away with using one of the actual benches that you see in the gym, but I'm a little bit shorter, so you want to be resting against your scapula when you're doing this exercise, so you're not sitting up too far. So that is why you will see that I'm actually on the aerobic risers versus an actual bench. So I just had to play with this to see what height worked best for me. So the biggest thing when it comes to doing barbell hip thrusts that I see a lot of people do incorrectly, and that is when they don't keep their chin tucked when they're at the top of this movement. And the reason why you want to keep your chin tucked is because it's going to help keep your spine neutral. And when your spine is neutral throughout a compound movement, it protects your back, so it's not recruiting your lower back, and you can maintain focus on your glutes. So when you're at the top of this movement, make sure that you are not swinging your head back like I see a lot of people do. Next little tip for the barbell hip thrust is to complete a full range of motion. You know, the biggest thing for compound movements, if you want to get optimal recruitment, is actually to move the full range of motion. So if you're only doing quarter reps, you're not going to get the full benefit of growing your glutes that you could if you were completing a full range of motion. And on top of that, when you are at the top of this movement, make sure you are squeezing your glutes. That is huge. So typically a lot of people struggle with this at first, and that's because their glutes are typically really underdeveloped and they're feeling it more in their hamstrings than what they might be feeling in their glutes. So if you're struggling with that in the beginning, don't be afraid to drop the weight, focus on slowing down the movement so you can focus on squeezing your glutes, and then just simply pause at the top of this movement. If you pause for about 2 or 3 seconds and you do higher reps, you'll start to notice that you're feeling that glute recruitment over time. All right, next exercise is leg curls. You can do this with a stability ball or you can do it with the rowing machine. I find the rowing machine to be much more difficult than using the stability ball. So whenever I get the chance, I try to use the rowing machine whenever it's available. So as you will see with the rowing machine here, it's a very difficult exercise. So don't be too hard on yourself with this one. I think I can only do between 6 to 10 reps. I can't even get past 10 reps as of right now without it starting to really burn. You definitely want to focus on lower reps with this exercise and focus more on your form and technique versus hitting higher reps. Our biggest focus here with all of these exercises is to achieve what is known as progressive overload, and that's where you do more over time. So part of achieving progressive overload, it's not just about doing more reps, it's about bettering your form and technique as well. So always start out with the fundamentals. If you could only do 4 reps for this exercise, that's totally okay. I would rather you take the time to make sure that you are perfecting your movement patterns versus doing more reps. So focus on perfecting your movement patterns. Next week you might be able to do 5 reps. The next week you might be able to do 6 reps. Again, progressive overload where you're doing more over time. So really focus on your form and technique for this one. And the biggest thing to perfect your form and technique for this one is to keep your hips up even when you extend your legs out. So as your legs come out to be straight, you can tell I'm struggling with it just a little bit, and you want to try to keep your hips as high as possible. You don't want them coming down as your legs start to straighten. Keep your hips up, and that's going to keep full activation on your glutes. You will also feel this in your hamstrings as well. Exercise number 3 is the cable pull-throughs. Cable pull-throughs are amazing. There's a couple of variations for this. As you will see, my cable pull-through here looks like I'm squatting a little bit more versus keeping my legs replicated as a stiff-legged deadlift. The reason why you will see my knees bending and going into flexion is because it's going to give me more recruitment on my glutes. The biggest thing that you want to focus on for this exercise, and probably for all these exercises, is squeezing your glutes at the top of the range of motion. Now, I got Kyle to actually zoom in a little bit on my glutes so you guys can see how much I am actually squeezing. I can't express the importance of this enough. They're a very difficult muscle group to turn on, and that's the biggest thing that you want to focus on if you want to be successful in growing your glutes. And the reason for that is because we're so sedentary now, right? We're all sitting down so often that our glutes, they're sleeping quite a bit. So it's very difficult to achieve recruitment when you're training this particular muscle group. So that is why I'm stressing the importance of really squeezing at the top of each range of motion. Again, for this one, if you struggle to feel it and you're not feeling it when you squeeze, pause for a couple of seconds at the top of the range of motion, and that should help. Another tip to help increase your recruitment is when you're doing this exercise is to pretend that you are leg pressing the floor away from you. So if you really just focus on kind of screwing your feet into the ground and pretending that you're trying to press the floor away from you as you go to stand up, you will find that it's going to really help you recruit your glutes for this exercise. All right, the next exercise are Romanian deadlifts. For Romanian deadlifts, you can do this with a barbell. I find I like doing it with dumbbells better just because you can get a better range of motion. The tips are pretty similar. You want to pretend that you're leg pressing the floor away from you. Now, an additional tip for this one, because it is a deadlift motion, you want to actually make sure that you are breathing properly. Same for the other exercises, but since deadlifts are a big compound movement, you don't want to be feeling this in your lower back. And a lot of people do, and the reason for this is because they're not bracing their abdominal wall properly when they're performing this exercise. So what I mean by that is before you descend, you want to take a deep breath into your tummy, not into your chest, into your tummy. So you want to keep that locked in there as you descend down. Then when you go to stand back up, that's when you release all the air out and you breathe all the air out to let it out. And that's what's going to really help protect your back so you're not feeling it in your lower back when you perform this exercise. All right, and the 5th one is Bulgarian split squats. Now, so many people hate this exercise, and I can't stress how important it is. So something that I have recently have done and that I have actually gotten my clients to do is to try to hold on to something when you're performing this exercise. So many people will complain that their balance sucks and they just don't like doing this exercise because they're super wobbly. Well, if you're finding that that's an issue, then we need to try to fix those imbalances, and the first way to do it is to just try to hold on to something and again achieve progressive overload where you are bettering your form over time, where you're not relying on anything to hold on to. But in the beginning, if you hate this exercise, I promise you holding on to something, it makes it so much easier. So take the pride out of it, take the ego out of it. This is a great exercise to do, so make sure if you need to, hold on to something and it'll make a whirlwind of a difference. With this exercise, you will feel some recruitment in your quads. This is a squat variation, so like I said in the beginning, doing squats does recruit your quad muscles versus your glutes as much. Same thing with this exercise, but since it is a single leg movement, you will feel it in your glutes as well, and it will also help with any imbalances that a lot of people seem to have. And the last one, bonus one, I know we already did 5, but I do have one bonus exercise for you guys to do, and that is the seated hip abduction machine. This machine right here, it works the smallest part of your glutes. I always finish off every single glute day with about maybe 3 sets of 40 for seated hip abductions. I don't lift super heavy for these. I just focus on the mind muscle connection, making sure that my back isn't taking over and I'm feeling it in my glute. If you guys don't have this machine, because I know not a lot of gyms do, I highly recommend that you get some mini bands and you can perform the same exercise with mini bands. You may have to do more reps to feel the same level of resistance, but an excellent finisher for the end of your glute day. Those are my 5 exercises that I recommend to help you grow your glutes. I hope you guys found it helpful. Give it a try. Comment down below which ones you like, which ones you've tried, which ones you're excited to try, and happy peach growing, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.